We'll kick it off. Excited to kick off the panel. Navigating the digital frontier: strategies for influence, innovation, and impact. Um, this is a packed panel, and I've realized now, anytime I have four speakers, probably should have kept it an hour. So we'll try to get make it as productive as possible. Um, so a little bit of background: Ibrahim Mohamed is the founder of Courtside Media, as well as Taja.ai. Um, with Courtside Media, he works with agency. It's a media agency working with influencers anywhere from 1 million to 75 million followers. He also founded Nile Night, which is an organization that curates events and donates the funds to impact those who've been affected by the war in Sudan. Gina Knock Knack is a seasoned social media strategist and AI integration specialist with a decade-long track record of elevating leaders in tech and media on social media and cultivating growth-oriented communities. She's based in Las Vegas, Nevada. Um, Jorge Soto, based in Miami, is a serial entrepreneur within the software industry. He's currently a co-founder at Asset Mule, a sales asset creation and management software startup. Before Asset Mule, he's started multiple startups, worked at Twitter, now X, via the acquisition of MoPub, and has worked with hundreds of founders around the world. So super excited to welcome Jorge here. And last but not least, we have Kai Devereaux Lawson. Kai is an Ad Age A-list, Ad Week 50 marketing storyteller of the year. She's based in New York and lauded as one of media's marketing and tech's 50 most indispensable people behind the scenes with stars. Kai is a thought leader, an innovator, and an advocate for truth telling in marketing. She has over 13 years experience in the industry, which has helped her shape strategies for advertising's most recognizable agencies and brands. So super excited to welcome you all today. Hope you've had a wonderful week. Kai, since we started with you, we'll go ahead and start with you. Uh, as a trailblazer in the largest market, right in the U.S. Um, and focus as a trailblazer focused on culturally marketing and a co-founder of Valerie. How do you balance creativity and inclusivity when building campaigns that resonate with diverse audiences?
Yeah, I thought that was an interesting question. So for me, it's not a balance. It just is how I approach marketing. It's the lens by which I view the world, not necessarily by choice, but just by which I was placed upon this earth. And so, I am a first generation American. My parents are not from this country, so having to navigate the world and understand language, understand multiple languages, understand multiple cultures, understand what it looks like to assimilate into a relatively wealthy region. I grew up right outside of Philadelphia in the Chester County area, which has a lot of money, but coming from a background that doesn't have a lot of money, you really just start to look at the world and see where the similarities are for connection, because it is that connection and the way you tell your story in a way that other people can see themselves in that story, that you are able to forge a path forward, and create communities, create opportunities, and to honestly build wealth. And so for me, that was a very natural approach to marketing. I think it's probably why I rejected it so heavily in the beginnings of my career. I had no intention of getting into advertising. But I think it's also why it's become such a big home. And so I advocate for that in the industry in terms of making sure people understand that this does not necessarily have to be something that is for someone that looks traditionally like an ad man or traditionally like a marketer. This is for people who understand how to reach across different bridges and forge connections and solve for problems and recognize challenges and see creative ways of solving those challenges, whether it's as simply as, what colors do we use for a brand, or as complex as to how do we build a product that potentially could save the world. Looking for those inroads in understanding our differences, but understanding how those differences connect across the board is just how I move. It's how my team at Valerie moves, and it's how we advocate for marketing to move forward in the future.
It's awesome. And just for the audience, maybe if we could understand a little bit of the ideal customers or clients that you're working with, employee size, so we just have a good idea as well.
Sure. So Valerie, at Valerie, we are about a year into our existence in the marketing industry. My leadership team and I have collectively about 20 years experience on the marketing, advertising, PR, and brand side of the business. And we've brought all of that insight together to focus on three things. That's creativity, culture, and strategy. For us, we feel like those are the key pillars to kind of build all of the things that kind of move culture and move audiences forward. And so we work with clients across the board, everywhere from blue chip, big brand retailers to small independent individuals or professionals who are building their career and trying to establish a brand. For us, we see inroads between all of them. So as big as a Walmart or an American Express, and as small as, a chief marketing officer over at a record label, those are the types of folks that we build with, and we provide packaging and services for each of them and their bespoke challenges. In terms of our team, we are a leadership team of three with a very deep bench of freelancers and contractors that we bring in to help us solve problems. We believe that the
Mhm.
subject matter expertise is important in the work that we do, and that it's also just as important for the folks we work with to have as much experience as they can get, because it is that knowledge that helps us solve for challenges that may be believed to have been unsolvable before, but we bring to the table that diverse perspective. So that's
Yeah,
Valerie.
no, love that. And I'm going to wrap around to everyone. Jorge, since you mentioned that you used to live in San Francisco and now you're living in Miami and you've worked with multiple startups, I'm very interested in terms of like what lessons have you learned from building your journey in different markets? And I guess how do you approach scaling a tech venture in a competitive market?
Yeah, I mean, there are a couple things there. By the way, Kai, I love the scarf. I had one very similar, reminds me of my days in cold regions.
Oh
But
yeah, it's cold here. It's cold.
yeah, well, just real quick before I dive into that, I just want to thank everyone for inviting me to have this discussion. In terms of lessons, boy, I've been doing this since it's about 20 something years, 23 years or so, even though I look like I heard today somebody's like, are you 17 or something? I was like, no, 43. But anyways, um,
You said 43? No, you're
yeah,
not.
43. That's right. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
um, my approach to answering this question is going to be a little different because, what I find is that there are some fundamental truths in startup land or being an entrepreneur that certainly exists, but every experience is different. Like sometimes, like I've been part of a venture and there is a very specific set of problems that are just highlighted there. And then I go to another one, I'm like, all right, I'm not going to do that. And then I really focus on not making those mistakes. And then there's a whole set of new ones that I didn't see around the corner. So I think when I think about a fundamental truth, I'm going to give you something that's maybe a little more esoteric. And that is, this journey of building startups like Asset Mule, like every other one that I've been part of over the years, is very much an emotional roller coaster, right? And as so many different experiences in life. So I would say that, one of the key learnings is that your ability to keep your emotional state in check as much as possible can help you make these decisions, which today might be one good one, the next day it's not. And so, it's that's one thing I would say. Now we're humans, right? We're not robots yet. That might change, who knows, in the next
Mm.
couple of decades. But so let's just say we have that top of mind. And what does that look like? That looks like some sort of spiritual practice, meditation, prayer, whatever your traditions or philosophies are. I think that's really important. Continuing to every day, if you're in the game, you got to be ingesting this type of information, right? How to get better across the board, not just tactically as a business person, but again, as a human who's operating this business. So, let's say you have that kind of practice. And by the way, over the years, I've done a lot of interviews and I've created documentaries and all this stuff on how to be a great founder, not only for myself, but for content out there, because it's a topic that I really enjoyed. And that was the number one thing that every CEO said. They're like, yo, you need to run, you need to work out, you need yoga, you need something, right? So that aside, my lens is very much B2B, right? And so talk to your customers, right? From day one, I don't care how far you are, right? Like you need to be focused on listening to that customer, whether you want to position it early on as research, because it is, right? And you're reaching out to the market, to a particular persona or ideal user or customer profile, and you're saying, hey, I'm working on this thesis around a product to solve XYZ. I'd love to get your feedback. And then as you start to collect that research, you then start to build a product, right? I was talking early days, right? Start to build a product around that, those insights and around your thesis as well. And then you continue to do that, right? Over and over. And those things will turn into sales conversations. If you're
Yeah.
like a self-serve product-led, product, that'll, turn into a user experience that you now
Yeah.
push through. So that's what I would say.
I love that. Yeah, product-led growth, talking to your customers. It's a theme that's emerging, and just for the collab members and followers, you might recognize Ibrahim. He raised some capital this year and put out a nice video. And for Taja.ai. So Ibrahim, why don't you tell us a little bit about Taja.ai? And I'm going to take it to Gina as well after you, because Gina, I know you work a lot with social media and AI. So I'm interested in how you, Gina, see AI reshaping social media strategy and content creation. So I'll bring it to you after this. But first, Ibrahim, can you tell the audience what you're built, what you've built with Taja AI, and just some of the impacts so far that you've had?
Yeah, for sure. So, thanks again, Manny, for having me. Taja, for everyone that doesn't know, is a tool that basically optimizes and repurpose your long form videos to help you save time and maximize your reach. So it's as simple as, say you have a long form video you just created, you just run it through our system. We'll instantly give you the titles, description, tags, thumbnail, all SEO optimized, and we'll even help you repurpose it by generating shorts, clips, and text-based output like LinkedIn posts, blogs, and threads that you can then schedule and post out across all your platforms to maximize your reach on that piece of long form content. So we've been out for about 18 months. We have over 3,600 customers that use us. We're growing fast, and the impact has been like immense because we have a lot of small creators and small businesses that use us as a tool that is basically their YouTube assistant and is able to handle everything for them so that they can focus more on creating content.
Awesome. So perfect segue, I think, to you, Gina. You know how this is one example, but I guess how do you see AI reshaping just really the landscape of social media and content creation?
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely think that we're going to be able to do way more with way less, right? Like even what he just spoke about, taking a long form video, chopping it up into short form clips, repurposing that into text form. So I think AI is really going to change the game in terms of volume of content that we're producing. And as the platforms are increasingly getting more saturated, one post a day typically isn't enough to grow a channel. So people are going to be leveraging these tools to do a lot more with less, leveraging the data to create better content, right? Establishing this would be a great hook based on all of these data points of top performing content that we've seen. So I do think that we are going to be able to do more with less, but what I don't see AI doing is replacing creativity. So the way that I like to leverage AI is as reference points. So as, for example, when I'm developing a personal brand with a client, we'll get on weekly calls and I will function as like a consultant slash coach to distill all of the important aspects of their personal brand. They can just speak to me stream of consciousness without sitting on a blank page trying to decide what their mission statement or unique selling proposition is. And then we download those transcripts and upload it into GPT to create a brand book. Now, that brand book is the foundational brand guideline, not only for your look and feel and things like that, what we traditionally would use a brand book for, but now it's the foundation of your brand. And you can use that as a reference when you're leveraging tools like AI, Chat GPT, maybe even a video editing script to give them context of this is what my brand is all about. This is my client. This is my offer based on all of this and my brand voice based on my top performing content. Here are all the transcripts and the captions and all of that. Now help me create something and it'll get you 70% there. And then of course you have to go in and make some adjustments just to humanize it and make it your own. But I think from that perspective, if from a volume perspective, it's going to change. But I think from a content creation perspective, we as humans are going to learn how to be more creative and to really stand out, right? Especially if the space is just becoming increasingly more saturated.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you sharing that. And thank you. I see here Justin asked a question, and thank you, Jorge. I wanted to bring the conversation back to you, Kai. A topic that I seem to not be able to escape is, rhetoric that DEI is essentially failing, and DEI is, done. I guess with your experience as a thought leader and advocate for DEI, what steps can organizations take to create more authentic and impactful DEI initiatives in their efforts?
I'll answer. So we're all just meeting. But usually when I answer this question, it really, for me, it just come from a very personal place, a very honest place, and unorthodox place. And so my perspective to answer your direct question, what can organizations do? Organizations can do what they've been promising to do, right? They can literally just stick to the plans that they've created. Oh, especially I know it's the end of 2024, but over nearly the last 5 years, like literally almost every major organization has listed out all of their commitments, all of the money that they were investing, all of the people they were going to hire, all of the focuses on, the strategic focuses, and very few of them, if any, but very few of them have been able to either activate them consistently, or justify for themselves, because that is a very leadership, stakeholder, board member heavy decision to actively invest in those commitments. Prior to that, these same organizations have made those same commitments and strategies and have pulled in some of the biggest consultants over the world. I mean, I've been pulled in numerous times to give recommendations, and they have decks and decks and books and thought leaders and conversations and panels and all of the answers, and they literally just don't use it. So what can they do is the work that they've paid to do. I think for businesses or startups or people who are probably on the beginning stages of their journey, yeah, Tony, they simply don't want to. And I will say that. I know a lot of people can't say that because folks got to keep their job, but my job is to tell the truth, and they don't want to prioritize it. It has to be a collective effort, not just from your CEO, but from your creative director. Your creative director has to want to use AI in a way to help to amplify the voices of all of the audiences that they'll be engaging. Your head of technology and community has to want, I mean, we'll look at Twitter, we'll look at what Twitter was. The person at the top has to want to engage communities and use technology for good and to solve for any fringes that might be broken or be harmful to certain communities. And so it really is a choice. They have to make choices. But for folks who want to know the first, second, and third thing they can do, it's really literally a quick Google space, and it really is about connecting communities. It is about creating equitable spaces where people can thrive, not just exist. And it does take money, and it does take time, and it does take commitment. And it is more than a happy hour, which I'm sure is the easiest route that most people go. And that's why DEI looks the way it does, and why people can argue that it could potentially be dying.
Yeah, mic drop. Thank you for that. Yeah, I appreciate that. I guess kind of, and if anyone has any questions, feel free. I know we're coming to the end here. I guess looking into 2025, and looking into the horizon, Gina, I'll bring it back to you. How do you think tech and media companies can really integrate AI or just other partners to really accomplish their goals and streamline their branding?
Sure, absolutely. I'm going to try to give the simplest answer to this. I think the whole conversations around AI can get really overwhelming. I think the top three tools for organizations to consider implementing would be one, an AI meeting note taker. Like Fathom is great. I'm getting co-signed across the
Nice.
board. Yeah, so it's great not only because of the quality of the summaries. You can search the transcript like AI chatbot right in there. There's recordings and all of that. So I think also from a data perspective, it's pretty secure. It's like HIPAA compliant as well. So I would suggest, capturing all of everything with an AI meeting note taker. So Tori's point, like if you're doing client interviews, you're getting on sales calls, you're getting feedback from your clients, you want all of that recorded, and then you can upload those documents into creating an ideal client profile or whatever it is. So I would say one, AI meeting note taker for sure, Chat GPT, and also just leveraging it like search and allowing the individual contributors to leverage it and not being afraid of it, right? Because a lot of it is training and memory and all of this. So really empowering your teams and encouraging them to use a chat GPT, Claude, or something similar to that. And then third would be to use an AI tool, like a video editing tool that can help you cut down your long form content into short form content like Taj AI.
Love it, love it. Ibram, what about you? Maybe I think it would be awesome to talk about Now Nights and what you're doing, and maybe anything that you have in 2025.
Yeah, Nile Knights is an organization we started this past year, July of this year when I moved to New York, which is basically it does three things. It unites the Sudanese diaspora. It raises funds and awareness for the ongoing war in Sudan. And then it brings in artists that are Sudanese to come perform at our events. So we started it this past year in New York City, as I mentioned. We've had three events. Um, all been very successful. Been able to raise a lot of money. And then this upcoming year, we have we're doing a big event on April 5th in DC at the Howard Theater, um, which will be our Eid party. So it's going to be our biggest event yet with 1,000 people attending. Really good lineup of performances, and we'll expand from there.
Awesome, awesome. Well, looking forward to that. We'll keep everyone in touch. Jorge, I'll end it off with you, and interested in your perspective in AI as a developer and engineer, and how you're using that to evolve asset to evolve sales with Asset Mule and asset management.
Yeah, well, if you're a salesperson out there or marketer, there are, like Gina said, some great tools like Taj, because you need to be, if, as a salesperson in 2025 and beyond, you have to be a small, like a mini marketer yourself, right? Just like being some, cold calling machine, emailer, doing meetings by itself is just not good enough. Not only is it going to help you when you are doing those type of activities, but it's going to help you when you're on deals, right? Like I live on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn all the time, and like I can't tell you 9 times out of 10 I get on a call and prospects or just folks in the market that I'm trying to gather research from, they're like, oh, I love your content. I'm like, oh, cool. Like they see it. So it's developing this relationship that was not possible before unless you were like, I don't know, on CNBC or something, or some sort of like, you know media outlet. So social media has allowed for that. So that's one takeaway in terms of AI. Again, like the note takers, I use Fathom every day. I love it. I'm obsessed. There are other like ChatGPT, Perplexity, tons of other ways to like write content and check typos and things like that. Grammarly has an AI thing, right? So there's so many. And to Gina's point, I don't think it replaces a human right now or creativity, but it actually enhances it, right? I will go into an AI tool and put in some ideas and it'll give me an outline, and it takes a lot of that brainstorming activity to the next level. So, tons and tons of technology out there that's AI powered, whether it's built on something like a chat GPT or your own proprietary LLM models. It's all and the funny thing is we're just at the beginning. It's all very useful, and
Yeah,
it's exciting to see what's going to happen.
definitely. Definitely. Well, I think that's a great way to end the convo. Appreciate you all, and thank you for tuning in.